Well, I'm more than certain that Paper Mario Color Splash is much better received than Sticker Star. However, there's an unfortunate amount of people that still hate Color Splash, mainly for the reason that it's a sequel to Sticker Star. And while I can see most of their complaints, there really is no complaint against the level design. I only counted one level that I really disliked in this game. So while the battle system might not be very great, the levels more than make up for it. Let's give Paper Mario Color Splash a bit of life. So there's only one major thing I want to address before we go on to the list. I'm not going to be talking about the bosses in the levels that have bosses. They'll probably just receive a brief mention, if nothing else. Simply doing this just so I can talk about the levels and not get distracted on the boss fights. Without further ado, let's have a splash. Boy, that quote was cheesy. Get your hammers ready, because we're going to take a detour to a Battle Royale level in a game that doesn't have very good battles. Being specific here, you actually don't do a whole lot of fighting, simply because the boss here, Iggy, requires the bone. If you don't have the bone, you can't beat him. So before you head into that battle arena, keep in mind you need to go find the bone, and you can't go get one from the ringer even though you've had it before, because there's a bone in the actual level. It requires a short detour. The main fun of this level comes from exploring the bleachers area, I guess. You have to climb against the wall to get to other rooms, all while you're searching for that bone. Eventually, once you do find the bone, you then have to go into the battle arena where you find out that was actually just a trap, and you have to fight a ton of enemies. However, you can find a store to pretty much kill everything there, followed by a boss fight against Iggy. It's a pretty cool idea for a level, but there's one big problem I have. You know the whole auditorium section of the level? Well, I think it has too many enemies, as in the level design is based too much around the enemy. Now, of course, whenever you're going to find other ways into other parts of the rooms, yeah, it's pretty fun, climbing against a wall and whatnot. But I don't feel it was best for them to construct the level out of enemy placements of all things. But either way, I still find this a pretty enjoyable level, but it kind of barely made the list. I guess you could find it ironic that I think that the enemy placement in the last level kind of hindered the experience, while in this level, it actually makes the whole level better. Mousetrap Theater could be seen as a pretty generic level, and I can't blame you for thinking that, but here's the thing, the enemy placement in this level is actually a lot more unique than you might think. It's not like, hey, place obligatory enemy here, have them chase you, whatever. Look at this, look at all the enemy placement. It was like it's specifically programmed for this level alone. I think that this level was built with the enemies in mind. Ever it's all the Shy Guys spinning in wheels, or those dragon things from Super Mario World. I don't know why they brought them back. Those guys pop out and breathe fire at you. And don't get me started on the Juggler Bros sections, those are cool. They'll toss hammers at you while you're trying to get across. Any complaints with this level? Well, I think that the paint star placement is really stupid. Like, there's seriously two paint style stars placed in the exact same area. But you can't really talk about enemy placements in a level for that long. So I guess it's about where this level ends in uniqueness. I'm just surprised that enemy placements actually make the level better for once. I feel it's best to say that most of these levels actually kind of remind me of Super Mario 64 for some strange reason. Probably because levels such as Sunglow Ridge reminded me of a level that could be in Super Mario 64 or any collectathon Mario game. And that's the reason why Sunglow Ridge is on the list. It's fun to explore, just like a Super Mario 64 level. And honestly does feel like a level that you would experience in any sort of 3D platformer. Nothing really too special happens in this level besides the introduction to the black paint, but just the level has great design. Exploring is fun because you're going to have to find the unfoil boxes so that you can actually progress throughout the level using the unfoil box's power to unfold certain objects to make a pathway. It's a fun level to navigate, and along with that it has great scenery. gives you the type of feeling that puts a smile on your face whenever you're exploring a level. Just imagine if they did use a level like this in a 3D Mario game. I think this level is right at home with games like 64, Galaxy, and the upcoming Super Mario Odyssey. One thing that I think that Paper Mario Color Splash excels at is having you revisit later levels. Sometimes you may not have a certain thing card or a certain big paint store to progress later on in said level. So of course you're going to have to come back later, and Toad Trainworks actually has to revisit it shortly after you first come to the place. The first time you arrive there, the Toad there just tells you he's going to retire because he doesn't get any business. However, upon revisiting the place, you see that you need to repair the train from earlier. The train is heading towards Tangerino Grill, so you need to help the Toad fix the train up. However, the enemies are screwing everything up. So it's your duty to put the train back together and find new parts. This leads you to navigating the place to find where you need to fix the certain parts. It's really fun to get from place to place, and I'm pretty sure you can take whichever pathway you want. What matters most is that you just need to fix the train up. That's your end goal. And just like Mousetrap Theater, the enemies do kind of make the level design kind of unique. Whenever you fix up a piece of the train, you're going to have to fight a small group of enemies. Also, I just think that's kind of cool that this is the last train that this company is going to be working on. Kinda makes me wish that this Toad here actually had a unique personality or was a unique character altogether, but who really cared? And one final thing I'd like to note is how I think that it handles the whole revisit thing better than any other level. You come back to the level shortly after you first visited it. It's on like levels such as Mustard Cafe. You visit that level after you've gotten your second big paint store, but you don't come back to it until you've gotten your fourth. So yeah, it actually makes you believe that the level's worth something. While this level may seem relatively small at first, well, let's just proceed on through. You enter this small power plant, which I actually thought was a radio station whenever I saw it on the map. You can't blame me, can you? Once you go inside this small energy plant, the Toad tells you that there's no power. You use this battery that you got a while back on the power lines there that restores power. Then the real meat of the level comes on in. The TV turns on to show that the Toad was pretty much slacking on his job. Hold up, is that Super Mario Bros. 3? That music's making me feel happy and nostalgic for some reason. Joke's on you, riders, I have a certain other nostalgic game. But anyways, you actually go inside and play through a little handmade level of Super Mario Bros. 3. Wait, hold up. You can turn it from 2D to 3D? Wait, we really are recycling stuff now, aren't we? Well, from here, you just go through a normal level. Yeah, it's so much fun, just doing some 2D platforming, along with some 3D platforming as well. You can stay in 3D form for about 10 seconds at a time, but you have to use up paint to go into 3D form in the first place. Rather than just cheerfully going on throughout the level, you have to find hidden passages through the mini levels that you go through. All the gimmicks in this level are pretty cool. I think that each 2D part of the level makes a great jump into 3D as well. They connect fantastically. However, the level can be minorly frustrating because whenever you touch the flagpole, you return to the very beginning of the level. You're not supposed to find the flagpole, you're supposed to find the paint star. So that means you have to find the hidden passageways. Once you do find said passageways, you will eventually find yourself going to other worlds in Super Mario Bros. 3 and eventually ending off finding the paint star. Oh, and good luck trying to have that nostalgic effect on me. Mario 3 it's an okay game. Okay, so I briefly criticized Mustard Cafe a bit earlier on. Main reason why was because it brought up the level very early on, about after you get the second paint star, if I presume right. But you don't actually do anything in the level until you get the fourth paint star. Upon getting the fourth paint star, there's a huge canvas in the once empty spot. Mario and Huey fall in, and then there's a very short section where Mario's by himself and he can't paint anything. Well, you have to get Huey in this section. Now you move very slowly in the sand, and this could just be seen as a plain old annoying, but they make it a bit creepy with the occurrence of Pokies. Whenever one gets out of the ground, it starts playing this absolutely terrifying music, but once you get Huey, the level starts to get somewhere. You eventually meet up with the cafe owner who also fell inside of the crater. From here, you have to safely escort him back all the way up to the cafe. No, this isn't an escort mission, he just follows you around. You don't have to protect him or anything. And you know, I feel it's about time that I actually express why I like most of the levels of Color Splash. Simply because they have a sort of adventurous theme, as if every single level has a story to tell. And this one makes it out to be a big adventure to get out of this crater. The design's very fun, and not to mention there's one big section where there are a bunch of pipes that you have to climb on and then repaint so that you can get them working again. And just as you're just about done with the level, you actually get caught by a bunch of sniffets and thrown into a jail of all things. You of course find a way out, but you have to help out the cafe manager as well, so you have to go exploring and find some keys to save him. This section's actually pretty cool, but I felt it was a bit forced, because I feel like the level had enough fun in it already, and that it was just the perfect length, but it did kind of overstay its welcome with the addition of this section. After you get out of the jail, you then go back to the cafe. You can, grab a drink there, I guess, but most importantly, you can finally get the paint star. While they didn't put use to this level earlier on, at least that wait was definitely worth it. Brings out a fun sense of adventure with cool level design and good enemy placement. And while it overstayed its welcome just a bit, that last section of the jail is actually pretty cool. Yeah, this level was definitely well worth the wait. But would you look at that, right after we talk about one level that has a restaurant, we talk about a level based around a restaurant. My initial impressions on the level weren't really that high, mainly because it's one of those levels where you visit once and then there's something to do there, then you come back to it later and finally there is something to do there. But whenever I actually did play through the level and got to the real meat, you'll get that pun just a bit later, whenever I got into the meat of the level, I actually really enjoyed it. Now most of the reason why I enjoyed the levels on this list is simply because of exploration. For the most part, that is. For this level, it's actually something completely different. There's not much to explore here. What you do here instead is you're now a new chef at the restaurant who has to serve all these hungry toads who had to wait back at Toad Trainworks while you were repairing the train. However, the kitchen is in utter chaos. Gordon Ramsay would not be proud at all.
Roll! Roll! Roll!
So upon disposing of all the enemies, you now have to cook because the head chef is injured. It just involves playing some mini games that are actually pretty easy. The last mini game, however, requires great timing, which means get your local timer that's in your house. But I actually think it's kind of reminiscent of those two mini sections in Paper Mario and Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door. You know, the ones with Peach cooking or, making a potion. Not sure, maybe that's not the case. It's probably some coincidence. And then once you serve your pizza out to the audience and the crowd of people who are waiting for that fantastic pizza, you can either have them applaud you, have them relish you in greatness, or that you could have them absolutely crush you, and then you have to pay for new ingredients. It's not fun. I swear, it's always that stupid timing minigame. However, upon doing this, you now have to make a steak for the VIP customer. It was confusing the first. Wait, what the heck? We're battling it? Oh my gosh. It's like those heartburn commercials. Now, our customer here is very picky. He might as well be Gordon Ramsay himself.
Overcooked on the bottom, and it looks like Gandhi's flip-flop.
So you have to grill it to perfection. You have to put the pepper on before you cook the steak. Then you have to tenderize the steak. Following that, you have to grill the steak, not with a fire flour, but with the actual grill that you get from Fortune Island. Finishing off with a nice lemon squeeze. That's how you make a steak, people. And that's the end of this level. It's pretty fun, and it may seem a bit short. The only thing that will kind of make it longer is artificial padding, as people may like to call it, because of trial and error. but I still find it fun in the very end. Also, I can't be the only person who thought the VIP customer was Gourmet Guy. It actually ends up being Larry, but I really did think it was Gourmet Guy from Paper Mario. So whoever thought about the idea of there being a Navy base in a Mario game deserves a gold medal. Not only is it one of my favorite levels design-wise, but it's also one of my favorite levels atmosphere-wise. It's also one of my favorites concept-wise. It's also one of my favorites in general. It's one of my favorite levels in this game. Not only is the concept something unlike we've ever seen before, but even in execution, it's still a great level. So basically, you're breaking into a base. You infiltrate a training camp. You then go past a bunch of security measures. You stop by a cafe, which is actually just a hideout for the spies. The spies being members of the Blue Rescue Squad, of course. Then going into a gym to prevent the Blue Rescue Squad members from forcefully exercising. Okay, ending off with a battle against Ludwig, who's on a battleship. Trust me, I want to talk about this boss one day, but that'll be saved for a later countdown. The whole feel of this level is what makes it. This entire time you feel like you're on a secret mission to, I'm not sure, blow up the base. That's not necessarily the plan, but you're just getting the big paint star. But hey, it feels like something you do in a super spy movie. And that one scene with the Toad and who's working at the cafe, gosh, that made me smile. That was really cool. It's upsetting to think that even though this level's varied, there's just not much for me to talk about here without regurgitating myself. I hate it whenever I have a hard time talking about something in one of my countdowns. But hey, Fort Cobalt, you'll just have to take my word for it. It's an interesting level, and seriously, who came up with the idea of a Navy base for a Mario level?
Do what you want, cause a pirate is free. You are a...
No! We are a lot more serious than that. You know what? Thousand Year Door might have had a pirate chapter and all, but this one does it a lot better. While I still sort of enjoy Chapter 5 from Thousand Year Door, it cannot compare to this level. Besides, that level was bogged down by backtracking and just overall, okay experience. But Fortune Island, on the other hand, not only does it make it feel like you're at the end of this epic pirate adventure, not necessarily the end of the game, but it also gives you the feeling that the designers loved making this level. This is the one of the most enjoyable levels in Color Splash, and I think there's one main reason behind that. One problem I have with Sticker Stars and Color Splash's puzzles usually has something to deal with the fact that all the puzzles are composed out of either cutting something out or using a thing item. And yes, of course, there are still puzzles like that in this level. However, there are just as many puzzles in this level that don't rely on that tactic. Now, one recurring thing throughout, I guess you could call this chapter of Color Splash, is that there's a parallel world. On this end of the world, not only is the music different, but overall everything is just a bit off. But changing something in that world also changes something in the normal world. You see this big skull, in the normal world you can't get inside of it normally. However, in the parallel world, you can. And while you're in the parallel world, you can open up a passageway that is not only in the parallel world, but the normal world as well. So now you can get inside the skull in the normal world. Another great example are these stairs. And they're bedded with spikes in the normal world, but you can see them just fine, so they're easy to dodge. In the parallel world, on the other hand, you can't see them. I hope you memorized them. In the room where the big paint store is, well, you can't go in there because there's too much smoke. You find out that the source of the smoke is coming from a grill that the old pirate captain is using in the parallel world. So yes, they put great work to the parallel world stuff. But there's one that made me say, yes, just yes. In the normal world, once you climb atop those stairs, you can just, easily go into the room where all the treasure is. Parallel world, you can't, because the door isn't open. It took me a while, but I did eventually figure out on my own that you have to position these torches. It seems strange how they were sticking out, but then I realized you could mess with all of them. Upon closer inspection in the normal world, I figured out how you need to position these torches. And I don't know if I should have felt smart whenever I did that in the parallel world, but I did feel smart. The epic nature of this level is enough for it to get on the list, but what it does with the puzzle system in this game, boy, it more than deserves this spot. Eat your heart out, Thousand-Year Door. Whenever I first beat Fortune Island, I called it one of my favorite levels in the Color Splash. And it still is, as you can tell. However, somewhat earlier on in the game, I also said this to another level, except I didn't say it was one of my favorites. I went as far as to say it was my favorite. And even though I still enjoyed the rest of the game, well, nothing topped this level. However, I feel like this level pretty much told me that the game was only going to be greater. And even though no level topped it, it was sure as heck right, because most of the levels on this list come after this level. Oh, I think that's enough stalling for the number one entry to pull up, oh, I don't know, excitement or whatever, tension, I'm not sure. Let's just hope that you're not dying from boredom from this rather slow intro. You see, you don't want to end up like the characters in this level, do you? So I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. Before this level, I was only mildly enjoying myself with Color Splash. Sure, most of the levels before this are fine. Heck, Golden Coliseum comes before this level and it's on the list. But nothing made me feel like I needed to continue playing this game. But Dark Bloo Inn pointed me in the right direction and made me continue playing this game. And to be honest, I'm not entirely sure why. However, I have one idea as what could have possibly made me love this level so much. So let's get down to the basics of this level. This entire level is a huge hotel, and you're supposed to stop this paranormal problem that they're having. If I'm not mistaken, there are about 6 ghosts, and in several of the rooms in the hotel, you have to stop these problems and find the ghosts. So right off the bat, there is really no point A to point B goal here. You are free to find the ghosts as you please. But at the same time, you're working against the time limit. If this time limit runs out, if I'm not mistaken, then you'll be forced to start over the level. I'm not entirely sure how this works, because I never actually ran out of time in the level. But even then, they give you a generous amount of time, and it's really easy to find these ghosts. You see something strange? Simple. Paint something around it. Like this book over here. It's moving on its own. There's obviously something going on. I think the ghosts is where this really gets interesting. All of the ghosts aren't doing this because they're mean or anything. They're doing this because they're unhappy. Each one has a problem. Like this toad who lost his pet bird. Solving problems like this will help you progress through the level. And throughout this level, well, I love this atmosphere here. You get to acknowledge the really nice looking hotel along with the music. I love eerie themes like this. They're the ones that are beautiful and aren't trying to go out of their way to scare you at the same time. Not to mention, this level's still really charming as well. Remember the bird? Well, it's actually a paratrooper. That paratrooper states, he ain't no Boyd. That's beautiful. Then there's it. You find out that this one toad dropped it off a balcony. And then a sledgehammer bro, or whatever you call those things, has it. You beat it up and you get it back. Upon returning it to the ghost toad, you can repaint it. And it's Yoshi! Even under this eerie nature, this level can still be charming. And as much as I'd like to go into detail about all the other ghost toads and how you solve their problems, well, it'd get a bit too cluttered to talk about all of them. Alright, it's about time we finish up here. Once you solve all of the Ghost Toad's problems, they all go into the dining room. And they want their tea party that they never got to have. Hey, I love tea, so you have to help them find a teapot. You find the teapot in the level afterwards, Plum Park. And once you return it to all the toads, they can go into the afterlife, I guess. But not before appearing on the painting. That left me speechless. I have no idea why, but it made me smile. And it cemented this one moment cemented this as my favorite level in Color Splash. Now, I'm obviously not saying like this was the best part about the level. No, I'm just saying that it guaranteed that this would be my number one. I don't know what else I could possibly say about Dark Bloo Inn. I'm still unsure about everything I love about this level. If there's one thing I know for sure, it's that it left me with a smile on my face and with me saying, this is my favorite level in the game. I'm Luigi Magic NX, and poor Color Splash. I'm glad that there are people out there who still do like it, and I hope that this video convinced you to give it a chance. Well, thank you very much for watching, everybody. Now, if you could excuse me, I could go for a cup of tea. I'll see you guys in the next video.